Online students, I'm audible and you could see my screen here. Okay, so where are we, guys? What are we discussing in the last class? JSON object we are looking into. We have seen the advantages of JSON over the array data structure, how we could able to queue the key and value pairs within the JSON, how you could able to retrieve the data from the JSON, and how the memory structure of the JSON object is getting created internally. Those things also we had look into, right? So this is what the example we have created. We have taken, earlier we used to take the array of student details because I want to group all the student details into an array. But the problem what we have is we just have the data. The only extra information what we have is the index value. Just the index value is there like 0, 1, 2, 3 and all. But we are not getting any extra information that what do you mean by 0? I don't get anything. Now in case of your JSON, the data will be stored in the form of key and value pairs, where the data type of the key should be every time it should be a string. Okay, now what if I miss to put this guy? I'm not putting the key for this marks and I'm not putting the keys for this average at the same time for name. I gave the key for name. I have given the inverted commas for gender total, whereas for name, marks and average I have not given. Is it going to work? No. Why so? In your JavaScript, it said like every key should be a string. If it is string, for sure it should be in single colons or double colons. Now, if I save this guy, open this guy within the default browser, if I inspect this, go for console, it's still working. Why so? The reason is there is an option inside your JavaScript saying that by default, I'm going to treat all the keys inside the JSON object as a string. Okay, by default within a JSON object, all the keys will be treated as a string. You don't need to mention any manually as a string data type there. Okay, this is a privilege or this is an advantage what you have in your JavaScript. If you are creating a JSON file, in that JSON file, for sure you give it as a string. For sure you need to give only double colons, not even single colons. But in case of your JavaScript, it is giving a privilege for the developer, saying that anytime you're mentioning the key inside a JSON, it is an optional for you. You may give the inverted commas, you may not give the inverted commas. By default, I'll treat the values as a string. Only the keys, guys. Now, say for example, value female is there. Okay, for female, I would like to give something called a female. Then this will be an error for you. Why so? Female is not a value. It should be a string in the sense for sure inverted commas. Only for the keys, you have an option, something called either you give the inverted commas, you give the single colons, or you don't give anything. I will by default treat it as a string. Are we clear? Okay. Now, we know that how do we read the value from the object here? We say object name dot the particular key. This is what we have done. Student data dot marks, student data dot name, student data dot total dot average. We can manually do this. By any time you want to access the data from the JSON object, it has to be object name dot the particular key. Okay. So any questions up to this example? Everybody got a chance to practice this? No, sir. Yes, everybody have done this employee details example? Everyone? Okay, so you want me to solve the employee details with JSON object? Okay, before that, can you write a program? Write a program to create a JSON object having the below fields. Book name, price, discount, authors is multiple values, publisher, category. Okay, you need to create a JSON object where I need to go with the book name, the book price, the discount, authors. I want to have multiple values. Say some 3 authors names I have, Raj, Krish, ABC, etc. and all you can mention. And you need to even take the category also. Can you create that JSON? Create it now. You don't need to create any coding and all, just where you need to say where book details is equal to a JSON object. How you're going to define the values, keys and values inside this. Just do it. Done, everyone? Online students? Can we add another object inside JSON object? We can do that, Roshan. I will talk about this, which we call it as nested JSON. I'll show you that. Right now, you don't need to actually. Authors is multiple. If it is multiple values, what is the data structure you go now? Array of author names. Done, everyone? Done? Okay, so if at all I need to do this, you know what I'll say? There is something called as book name. Anytime you're giving a key inside a JSON object, recommended to go with a camel case. Okay, starts with a lowercase. In between, you have the uppercase. Now, book name is, say something called as my Harry Potter. Okay, I say discount. What is the value? Say, for example, I say 15%. Is it is like this I can give it, or it has to be in inverted commas? Inverted commas, because we are giving the operator. If it is just 15, that will be a number. But if I'm giving any operator here, sorry, the symbol here, then it should be a string. Okay, on the top, I say something called as price. The price will be, say, some 4, like this. Okay, I say authors. Here I am asking for authors multiple values. If it is single value, Mr. Raj, you can do this. But I have multiple values. So how you're going to store the multiple values? In the form of an array. I say Raj, come, like this. Okay, publisher is going to be something called ABC book publishers. I say category, say something called a sorry, someone saying something? Okay, done, everyone? Understood how you're going to create the JSON? Sorry? Key should be string. You tell me, is it okay or not? It is fine, right? Even though if I give this guy in double columns, this guy in single columns, or for the remaining, if I'm not giving, by default in your JSON object, it is going to treat them as a string only for the keys, not for the values. Everyone could able to do it now? Okay, next, write a program to create a JSON object for employee details. For employee details, having name, age, department, basic salary, awards received. Awards received will be array of multiple values. Awards received, comma, date of retirement, in the form of a JSON. Can you create a JSON out of it? Okay, can you please do that? Make it fast, guys. I want everyone to do that. Don't sit idle. Then you could able to do it now. Everyone, if you have questions, let me know, guys. Can you run the book details object? I have not written a JavaScript code, Gopi. I just did this. Or else if you want to do this, okay, Gopi, you can see this. Now, when I'm consoling this guy, this is how I have a JSON object where I have authors is the key, which is having multiple values. Book name is the key, which is having this value, category, discount, price, and all. Hope I'm clear, Gopi. Book details. Okay, everybody done with this employee details? Everyone? Okay. Now, shall we go to this employee details, what we have done earlier using the JSON object? I know that I have given it as an assignment, but let me do it as it is the very starting of this JSON object. Let me do this. Okay, say for example, earlier what we used to do, anytime we want to go with the employee details, we used to say something called as EMP name equal to say some Raj. Okay, we used to say where age equal to something called as 20, like this we are going. but we already know that anytime we have more than one variable belonging to the same type of data, we are not going to go with the scatter type of data. Instead, we are going to group the data in the form of a object, wasn't it? So what I'm going to do here, I say where emp details is equal to, how do I specify it as a JSON object? You know, there is another way. You can even say new object of. This is a dynamic way, or else you can simply say like this. Both are going to be the same. Okay, right now this is an empty JSON object. If at all you want to go with multiple values here, if at all you want to go with multiple values, I say name equal to something called as Raj, etc. Like this, you can go. Now, if you ask me a question, how do I go with dynamic data? Okay, instead of hard coding the data, we know that using the prompt method we can do. Earlier we have seen, like, for example, if I say where I say emp name equal to prompt enter name. This is what we used to do here. So that whatever the data we are entering inside the prompt, the value will be added into the employee name here. But now this is a normal variable, but now I want to put a key called as name inside the JSON object called as employee details. How I'm going to read the dynamic data now. Okay, so for that, how we are going to do, let's have a look on this. So for this, you know what we can do is, in general, what people will do, they will say name colon empty. Right now I'm giving some empty values. I say age colon empty, or else I can say 0. I can say gender colon empty. I say basic salary colon 0. I say PF colon 0. I say HRA is empty. Like this I can do. In the same way, I say tax value equal to 0. In general, sometimes what people will do, they will give the structure for this JSON. Boss, this is a JSON object where I'm having some empty values for each and every key. Now, if at all you have to read the dynamic data for this, you know how I'm going to do? I say emp details dot name is equal to something called as prompt enter value for name. Okay, so whatever the value you are going for this guy, that will be stored inside the object called as employee details with a key called as name. Are we clear? Okay, now if I say console.log this emp details, you see, this is what we have. And after this, let us say console.employee details. For example, I'm commenting out this guy, I'm commenting out this guy. Now, when I open this guy within the browser, I commented it, right? I haven't saved it. Now, one enter name. Oh, these guys. Okay, I reload this, inspect this guy, go to console. You see, when I'm expanding this object, age is empty, basic salary is empty. This is how the structure of the JSON is there. Now, what if I read the dynamic data? You see, after I reading this data, save this guy. Earlier, a employee name was empty. Now, if I reload the page, I say Mr. Raj. Is it not being stored under this guy? See, under the key name, Raj value got inserted. This is how you could insert the data to the JSON object. Are we clear? Okay. On the top, can I insert multiple values here? Instead of name, I can even say employee age, enter the value for age. I can say employee gender. You can say it as gender. I can say basic salary, enter the name of salary here. Now I need to convert this guy into number, right? Parse int of emp details dot basic salary. Okay, save this guy, reload this page. See, asking the name, say something called as Tina. I say asking the age, say some 20. Asking the gender, female. Value of the salary, something called as so and so. Now, if you see, this is the object what you gave where I have the empty values. Now the object is having age value, basic salary value, gender value, name value, etc. things and all. Are we clear? So we are declaring an empty JSON object. Later we are inserting the data. Now you may ask me a question. Boss, you know the name is there, age is there, gender is there. What if there is a dynamic key? Okay, there is no object. There is no, for example, I don't have the tax value. I want to insert the tax value. Is it is possible? Dynamically, how do we do that? One thing what we need to do is, if at all you have to insert the data into the JSON object, you don't need to create any empty keys with empty values. You know, I can even do this. I will simply say, comment out this guy. I say emp details is equal to so and so. I just created a empty JSON object. You don't need to put any key by default. Now, when I save this guy, come back here, reload the page. Mr. Raj, age as 20, gender male, value of salary, so and so, so and so. Now, if you see here, this is how I have the name, I have the age, I have the basic here. So it is not mandatory that you have to create a JSON object by specifying all the keys before itself. Okay, you just need to tell that, boss, it's a JSON object. That's it. Later, you can add any number of dynamic keys also there. So either you can do this or you can simply say this. Later, you can insert the keys and values inside this. Are we clear? Okay, because like initially you might not be knowing what are the number of keys, right? Dynamically, I get to know what is the key, what is the value and all. At that time, you can simply say just object name, that particular key, insert the values inside this. Okay, clear everyone? Nice. Okay, now I got the basic salary. Now you know how do you calculate the PF and HRA here? Okay, so I simply say emp details.pf is equal to emp details dot basic salary into 14 divided by 100. This is your PF. In the same way, I need to calculate the HRA value also. EMP basic salary by 4. It is 24, right? Divided by 100. In the same way, EMP details dot total salary is equal to EMP details dot basic salary plus EMP details dot PF plus EMP details dot HRA. Isn't it? Now on the top, what is the tax? How you're going to calculate the tax here? If at all, EMP details dot gender is equal to male, I say EMP details dot tax, or else I can simply say where tax percentage equal to 0. Okay. Now I say if at all EMP details dot total salary is greater than equal to something called as 5 lakhs, I say tax percent is equal to say some 15. Okay, I'm not going with multiple conditions. You already know that, right? I say else tax percentage for women okay. Now I got the tax percentage. Now I say EMP details dot tax to be paid equal to EMP details dot basic salary into tax percentage divided by 100. That's it. Now when I console this guy, reload the page, asking for the name, say something called as Tina, age some 50, gender, say some female, value of the salary, say something like this. Now if you see, this is what the details I have. Age I have, basic salary I have, gender I have, HRA I have, name I have, PF I have, tax I have. Every details is into one single object. Now earlier when someone asked you what is the employee details, we used to say name, age, gender, etc. individual variables. Now if someone says that what is employee details, EMP details object is the employee details, boss. We are grouping all the relative information into a single unit by using JSON object. Are we clear, boss? Up to this. Now, if any data is been given, you can make it as a JSON object. Yes. Now you can even make it as functions also here. Yes, right? You can make it as a function to read the data, function to calculate this, or else let me do that part also. Now I say where read employee details, or else I'll comment out this part so that you will understand without functions what is this, and with functions what is this. I say where read employee details is going to be a function like this. Okay. Okay, this is read employee data in the same way where get PF and HRA equal to okay. In the same way, I need to say where display employee details is going to be a JSON object like this. Now I can simply say console.log name plus, can I say name directly? Can I say name directly? Obviously, yes. Yes. No. How I'm going to read the name? Anytime you are going to read the data from the JSON object, you need to say object name dot the particular key. What is the object name here? This is employee details. You need to say employee details dot name here. So you cannot directly access the data from the JSON object. It should be always object name dot particular key. Okay, I say age, this should be age. Gender plus emp details dot gender. I say console.log total salary is emp details dot total salary. Console.log tax value is emp details dot total tax to be paid. Maybe from outside, I can simply say display employee details. Under this, we can read the employee details. Okay, this read details can call this get PF and HRA. And this guy can call the get total. Got total tax or get total tax? Okay, save this guy, reload this page, enter the value for the name, Raj, age so-and-so, gender male, value of the salary, so-and-so. This is how the data is been stored. This is what I asked for the assignment. Okay, I'm using functions. At the same time, it's all JSON object. You see, I'm not having scattered variables, guys. So anytime more than one data, always recommended to go with the JSON object. Group all the data in the form of a single unit using your JSON object. No scattered variables. Okay. Tarun, you already understood this. With this object also, we can enter this data, required database to store data. Fine, everyone. Can I go forward now? Yes, please. Run this one. Age is printed before name. Sometimes, not sometimes, when we actually console.log this guy, right? When I say, I directly want to see the structure of this JSON object. I want to see what is student data. Once I reload the page, name I'm giving first, age I'm giving later, value of the gender says a male, value of the salary I'm giving like this. Oh my God, I'm working on different example. Okay. Now, if I reload the page, name I'm giving first, says I'm Krish, age I'm giving later, gender says a male, value of the salary is something like this. Now, if you open this guy, so this is what you're asking, that why age is coming first. By default, JSON object will be showing the keys in an alphabetical order, A, B, G, H, N, and all. It is not like when you're retrieving, it's up to you. You retrieve name, you retrieve age, it's up to you, you can retrieve. Okay, while showing only, it just shows like this. When you're retrieving, it's up to you. You can specify the key and value. Any questions? Okay, sir, what happens if we give two same keys? That's a good question, Vamsi. If I say, for example, this is the JSON object I have. Okay, I say emp details dot test is equal to sample. Okay, for the same JSON object, I say test is equal to sample 1, 2, 3. I'm taking the same JSON object. I'm giving the same key with multiple values. Now, when I'm reloading the page, Raj, age, gender, like this. Now, what happened? How many tests are there? How many tests are there here? 1. What is the value you have? Sample 1, 2, 3, which is the recent one. You cannot have multiple keys inside the same JSON object. Whatever the recent one you give, that will replace the old one. Hope I'm clear, Vamshi. Rahul, we are not passing parameters. How it is working without parameter. Please have a look on this, Rahul. You see here, he's saying that, boss, we are not passing parameters here, but still how it is accessible. Why so? Because this JSON object is, what is the scope of this JSON object? Global scope. I'm defining it as global. Obviously, wherever I wanted, I can inject it. If you make this guy as a private here, then you need to go for this passing data, returning values and all. Okay. As you already know this, I don't want to complicate this example. Hope I'm clear with the question, Rahul. Any more questions? Can I go forward? Everyone. Okay. Now, let us see what are the different ways. Okay. Say, for example, I say where student data. Okay. I say name, Mr. Krish. I say age, say 720. I say gender, say something called as male. Okay. If at all, I say console.log student data. Guys, understand this part, like different ways of accessing this JSON. This really helps out if at all you have the dynamic JSON object. Okay. Now, when I come over here, I open this guy in the browser. When I inspect this guy, go to the console, you see that this is the object where it says age, gender, and name. Clear, everyone? Simple and straightforward. If at all, I want to access only the age from this, what should I do? I simply say console.log age, right? Object name dot age. Now I say student data dot age. Now when I save it, come back and reload the page, it says like 20. So anytime you want to use it, you have to make use of the dot operator separator with the object name and the key. Now I want to say what is the memory structure of this. For example, I will say where some data equal to I say Krish, I say age equal to some 30, gender equal to say some female, Tina. I have another data where I'm giving the data in the form of a array and the student data is in the form of a object. Now, if at all I want to access female from this, what should I say? I say console.log data of 2 here. Whenever we have the square braces, we know that it is in the form of array. And under this, we are going to give the position or index value. Okay, female is under the second index 0, 1 and 2. This is what I have. Save this and reload the page. This is how it is. But now, when I am accessing the age from the object, you know what I can do? I can even do this guy like this. If I give something like this, you tell me is it is valid or not. Line number 24. I'm using square braces. Do you see it is valid? Obviously, no. You simply say that, boss, we know that whenever the data is getting in the form of an array, then only you can use this square braces whenever it is an array. But right now it is a JSON object. You cannot make use of the square braces. But I save this guy. I come back here. I reload the page. Could I able to get the value of age here? Yes. Why and how? Let us go into the memory allocation once again. For example, understand this guy. For example, I say data is equal to an array, something called as Tina. This is an array. I say as details is going to be a JSON object. I say name equal to say some Krish. This is how the data is there, guys. If I give a normal variable with array of values, another variable with a JSON object or object, how the memory is getting created, let's have a look. Now, this is the memory for this. For example, if I go with this array, you know that array is going to allocate a single block of data. Yes, where it is going to divide this box something like this, where this guy is going to be assigned with something called as data, where the data will be inserted like Tina, this is 30, this is female. By default, every value in the array will be assigned with index value. Always starts with 0. Now I say 0, this guy is 1 and this guy is 2. Okay. As this is getting created in the form of an array, I can access this value using something called, can I say data of 0? Can I say data of 1? Can I do this? Yes, boss. What does that mean? Object or array called as data and give me the value which is at the index called as 1. Any questions up to this? Everyone so clear? Okay. Now the next thing what I have is, what if I have, what is the memory structure of a JSON object? Is it also not in the form of like an array? We already discussed that. This guy will be given a name called as details, where the values will be stored here. it is some Krish, it is some 20, it is something called as male. Now, the index value is the numeric index has been assigned to each and every key value inside the JSON object. No, then what is the index value which is assigned for this? The key itself will be assigned as an index. What is the key for Krish? Name is the key, age is the key, gender is the key. Any questions? Okay. Now, if at all I have to get the value of the Krish, what I can say? Can I say as details dot name? Yes. Or as it is in the form of an array, can I say as details of name boss? Yes, it is. One second. I say as details dot name is going to give me something called as Krish, or as details of name is going to give us Krish. Any questions on this? So if you see here, how come I could able to see data of one? Data of one is going to come as something called as Tina. How come it is? Sorry, not Tina. It is 30 because the value which is stored in the index 1 is 30 value. But now when I'm accessing the Krish value, how I'm going to get that guy? I'm saying object name dot name. This is the default way. Or the other way is I can even make use of the square brace. If someone asks you, boss, it is the JSON object. We never define this in the form of a square brace. How come you're using the square brace? Because the internal memory structure of a JSON object is in the form of an array. You could able to retrieve the data from the JSON object using the object name of what is the key. You're going to get the same value. This is the second way of using or retrieving the data from your JSON object. Are we clear? Understood, everyone? Okay, either you can make use of the dot operator or you can make use of the square braces. Then if you ask me a question, where is the scenario we'll go for this? Whenever the key is going to be dynamic. Okay, now I say, for example, I'll comment out this part. Now I'll say where enter which key you wanted. User is telling that what is the key you want. We are asking for the user. So he will say, okay, enter key name, or else I'll put it as key name. Okay. Now when I save this, when I reload this guy, it is asking me the key name. I say AGE. You give me the key called as age here. Now I say something called as gender. Now you need to tell me what is the gender. So how you are going to retrieve this guy? Can I simply say console.log whatever the student data you have dot key name. Can I do this, boss? Now when I save it, come back and reload, enter the key name. I say gender. You give me what is the gender. It gives it as undefined. Why so? Why so, boss? When it is name, how you are saying? You are saying that okay, for example, understand this statement, guys. For example, the key name, you gave it as name, or you gave it as something called as gender. Now when you're retrieving, when you say student data dot key, you see here when I say student data dot name directly, what it is doing, under the object there is a key called as name, this guy. Now you throw me the value. Now when I say student data dot key name is the key, or it's like a normal variable? It is a normal variable. You see here, this is a normal variable key name here. Whenever you say student data dot key name, it is not taking the value inside this guy. Instead, it is expecting something like this. Is it true? No. Key name is not a key here. Key name is a variable which is holding the value there. Then what I need to do, instead of this, can I give something like this of key name, which is indirectly, for example, if I give it as a gender, this will be a student data of, it will be gender. Now it is going to give the value for you. Am I clear, guys? So you should not use this, guys. So this is where you for sure need to go in this format. You cannot say dot operator here. If I say dot key name, it is having a different meaning. When I say student data dot name, it will take this name as a key, give me the value. But if I give it as dot key name, it will expect that key name itself is a key and it will try to find the value there. So in this type of cases, the only way you retrieve the name or the value from the particular JSON object is using the square braces as like an array structure. Are we good up to this? Everyone? From line number 29, little bit confusion. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Okay, you tell me, do we have index here? Then how can we use index? We cannot, right? If it is in the form of index, then only you retrieve it. If you don't have an index, how can you retrieve it? Okay. Instead of index, you have the key there. Next. Ratnam, can you please tell me the line number? That is the reason I said to you, have you understood this part, the first one? How do you this? If you could able to understand 23 and 24, then you will be understanding 29 and 30 also, guys. Okay. Any questions on 23 and 24? Anyone? 23 is, I can directly say dot age or square braces of age here. But now what I'm saying here, instead of key name, if you have a question, I say that temp value. Okay. Now what is the temp value? Gender. Assume like you are giving it as a gender. Now I need to access the value from the JSON using this temp value. If I simply say directly that student data dot temp value, do you think you're going to get the value? Whenever you say dot operator with a value, is it not treating this itself as a key? Yes or no? Now you say, for example, you are saying that student data dot gender, is valid? Whenever you give dot operator, you need to give the key. But here you are saying temp value. Temp value is not a key, boss. Temp value is a variable which is holding the key here. Then what I need to do, instead of this guy, I need to say student data of temp value, which is indirectly student data of gender, because you are giving the gender as a value for this. Assume you can give anything here, but right now I'm giving gender inside the temp value. Then it should be student data of temp, which is indirectly student data of gender. You're going to get the value of this. Are we clear? So anytime you have the key as a dynamic value, then for sure you need to go in the form of square braces only. Online students who asked this, Ratnam and Monica, hope you are clear. And yeah, and Nukraju, you also, hope you are clear. Sir, what happens if temp value is a key and a variable? What happens if a temp value? Obviously, it expects a key only, right? Okay, what Vamshi is saying is, okay, what if there is a key called as temporary variable here? Now I say temp key, I say something called as hello. Now what is going to happen was, if you see when I give off temp value, when I say dot temp value, you will get that guy. When I say off temp value, it is going to treat it as a gender. Sorry? If you remove this line number, this guy. No, gender, I just shown you an example. Okay, now when I say dot temp value, this will give hello. When I say off temp value, what is the key inside the temp value? That value will be shown here. Any more questions? Okay, is student data of value is creating a memory? Monica, it is not creating a memory, right? Now when I say student details of name, do you think it is creating the memory or accessing the memory? Accessing, right? Or else if you want to create the memory with that, you can do that. Now say for example, employee details, dynamic details, you are saying employee details dot name, you are assigning a value. I want to do something like this. So in this case, it is creating a memory here. Okay. Any questions? This part is very important, guys. Again, that is the reason I said you. If you understand 24 and 25 clearly, you will understand this guy. Line number 38. Any more questions? Can I go forward? While entering key value, you are taking instead key value as temp value. While entering key value, I'm not entering, okay, while entering the key name, I'm entering the value. Obviously, I will, that is what my logic, right? I want to give the value here instead of the key. I mean, I'm giving the value for the particular key. Can you please unmute me? Obviously, I can. Yes, you can unmute yourself, Monica.
Sir,
Monica, I can't hear you. Let me log in from my phone. Please. Monica, can you take your question?
yes, sir. So in student data dot age, there is already a memory allocated for it, so we are accessing. And there is one more thing we are using, like with braces. It is like we are doing it later, like something like dynamic. That means is that we are adding it later. The memory is assigned it to it later because there is no age key is entered before, right? Let's suppose student data age 20 is not given. Console.log of student data of age in the braces. That means we are assigning it later.
Yeah, I got your point, Monica. Let me answer this. Okay, so what she's saying is, boss, when I'm reloading the page, there will be an error at line number 32. Okay, this guy, I can remove this. What is happening? Any questions? If you have anything technical, you ask me. If you have anything personal, you can get out and you can take it. So I say enter key name. Say for what is her question is, boss, if I give the key, what is existing? Now, when I say something called as AGE, do I have a key called as age there inside? Now, if I click on enter, you're getting the value called as 20, boss. Now, what if I'm giving a key, something called as location? Do we have a key called as location? Come on. We don't have it. Now it simply says undefined. So Monica, here what you need to understand is, when I'm accessing this guy, you see student data of temp. Are you assigning or you are retrieving? You are retrieving, right? If it is existing, it will throw the value. If it is not, it will say undefined. If I say student data of temp is equal to, say, something called as hello. Now, whatever the key you give, that key will be assigned. Whatever the key you will give, that key will be taken and that value will be assigned to that guy. Now, if you reload this page, you say enter the key name. I say location. That is not there. But still, location will be assigned with a key called as hello. See? Monica, am I clear with your question?
Yes. Can you go back to
Yes, no?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me,
Okay.
sir?
Fine.
Can you
Anyone
go back?
else? Any more questions? Okay. So this is how you could able to retrieve the data. At the same time, you could able to insert the data inside the JSON object. Either you can use the dot key value or you can make use of a square braces of key also. Okay. Hope everyone is clear up to here. Everyone? Okay. Now I have a question for you. We know the disadvantages what you have with an array. We know the you can't say disadvantage, limitations what you have with an array. The limitation is we don't have the extra information. We only have the data. If you have to retrieve, I have to always depend upon the index. But you know, the advantage what I have is, say for example, I say emp info is an array. User is passing me some data here, say something called as Krish, age something called as 20, male, Hyderabad. This is what the data we have. What if I want to store the same data in the form of a JSON object? If it is JSON object, you need to for sure give the key here. Name, age, gender, location. Any questions? So this is an array of values and this is a JSON object. Now, you know the advantage what you have with your array is, for example, server is throwing you the array of values, or else I say that, boss, I'm giving some array. You see here, when I'm going to the emp info, I don't have any extra information how many values are there inside this, isn't it? I don't have any idea that what is the data we have or how much of data you have. I don't know anything about it. Is it possible to retrieve the data? I know that it is just an array of values. Is it possible to retrieve the data out of this array? Come on, anyone? Obviously, yes, boss. I don't need to know the value of this. I simply say for loop where I equal to 0. The main advantage what I have is any array you give me, for sure the index is going to start with this 0. Now I say for array equal to 0 and it is going to go with less than emp info dot length. And I say I plus plus, isn't it? Now I simply say console.log emp info of I. My job is done, boss. Doesn't matter how much big it is, how much short it is, how many values you have. Irrelevant of this, I could able to retrieve each and every value from the array. Okay, so let us take it practically. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I don't know the structure of this array. I'm simply using this for loop. Don't do that. I'm simply using, you asked this question, right? I mean, when you're saying shift, it is not going back. Okay, see, it is going, right? It's going forward, not backwards. Actually, if it is backwards, it has to be shift tab. If it is forward, it has to be just tab. Okay, so I say that where I equal to 0, emp dot length here. I don't know what is the structure of this array. When I open this guy within the browser, inspect this guy, close others, console. You see here, I got the value as Krish, I got the value as 20, you got the value as male and Hyderabad. Are we clear? Everyone? Okay, now I put the same question. I say that I have this JSON object. I don't know the structure of the JSON object here. Okay, I simply say that emp info is a JSON object. That's it. In the same way, emp info was a array. I could able to retrieve the data. Now this is, instead of emp info, let us make it as emp data. Okay, now this is a JSON object. I don't know how many key values are there. What is the key and what is the corresponding value? I don't have an idea. Is there is any way I can retrieve it, boss? Is there is any clue that every time the keys will be name, every time the keys will be age? No, user can put any type of key, any type of value. then how you're going to retrieve the data from the JSON object? Because the main problem, the main limitation what you have with your JSON object is, if you don't know the key, then you can't get the values out of it. Yes or no? If you don't know the key, obviously you cannot retrieve the values from the JSON object. So that is where a new looping control structure is being introduced, which we call it as for in looping control structure. If you remember, we have only covered 3 looping control structures. One is for, one is while, one is do while. Now the another looping control structure what we have is for in looping control structure. If at all you want to iterate over the JSON object and identify each and every key and value out of it, we will be going with a looping control structure called as for in looping control structure. Are we clear? Okay, now how the structure of this for in looping control structure is going to be. So the structure or the syntax for this guy is, for you need to create a temp key where temp in what is the JSON object? EMP data. That's it. So we are not going for any indexes, starting index, etc. and all. In case of for loop, we used to go, but because the reason is arrays always starts with 0, arrays always ends with 0, length -1. That is the reason we do this. But coming to this for in looping control structure, you say for, we create a temporary variable in what is the JSON object you have. Are we clear? Understood, everyone? Okay. Now under this, let us console this guy. I say console.log temp here. Now here, is temp is a predefined or user defined variable? User defined. I'm saying var temp. I say something called as var prasad also. But do you have any meaning for this? No meaning? No meaning for prasad? Okay, so I can create any variable, guys. I can say ABC, I can say XYZ, I can put anything, but try to give a valid name or a self-descriptive name, or that is the reason I say something called as temporary key, something like this you can say. Okay, right now I just set it as temp here. Now when I save this, come back over here and reload the page. Now let me comment out this part. Array part I'm commenting. Okay, save this guy, come back here, reload the page. Could I able to identify all the keys inside this JSON object, boss? Yes, it is. So using your for in looping control structure, you cannot get the value of the JSON objects, but you could able to get the each and every key from the JSON object. Okay, the first key is the name, second key is the age, third key is the gender, fourth key is the location. You could able to get the keys from the JSON object here. Are we clear? Okay. Now, if I have the key, you know how do we retrieve the values? But before that, how this key is coming, let's have a look on this. What this for in looping control structure will do, it will say, you may have n number of instructions inside this. The very first time where temp, when I create a temporary variable inside this JSON object, the very first thing what it will go is, it will go to the first key and value. It will go to this first key and value, and this name will be added into this temporary variable. Okay, when it is going to the first key and value, it will get the first key. What is the key here? It is name. First time the temporary value will be name, it will execute all the instructions. When I'm reaching to the end guy, I will again go back to this EMP data. I will go to the second key value here, age colon 20 here. Now what is the value of key here? Age. Now the temp value will be age. I will execute all this instruction. Again, I will go back. EMP data. What is the second thing? Gender. What is the third thing? Location. That is how I'm going to get it. When I reach to the end, I will get out of this for in looping control structure. You don't need to say that, boss, go to the next here, increment here, decrement here. No need. You say that, boss, this is the JSON object. This is the for in looping control structure. I go to each and every key value, and I'm going to get the key and I put into the temporary variable. I execute the set of instructions. Right now, I have not given any values. So that is the reason. First time, I'm getting the key, which is called as name. Later, I'm getting the key, which is called as age. Third time, I'm getting the key, which is called as gender. Fourth time, I'm getting the key, which is called as location. Now, as you already have the key, can I get the corresponding value? Can I simply say console.log I simply say emp data dot temp, right? Emp data dot temp. I save this, come back and get it. Why it is saying like undefined? Temp is having name. Obviously, emp data dot temp, it has to give me the name, right? Yes or no? Is it valid? What is the valid way? That is what I said, boss. Here the temp guy, is it not a dynamic key there? If it is a dynamic key, do you say dot operator or do you say off temp here? Off temp. Now when I save it, come back and reload. You see, I don't know the structure of this JSON. How many key values are there? I don't know it. I simply say console.log this object of so and so. I should be able to get all the key value pairs from the JSON object. Are we clear? Online students, are we good up to this? Sir, foreign and foreign, both are same? Foreign and foreign. You said like foreign with dot dot foreign? Roshan, are you using exponential operator there? There is something called as for off, not foreign. We have for off, for each. Okay, for off is used to iterate over the maps and sets. Okay, for each, anyway, it is for arrays. Those all things come from your ECMA 6. Naresh, once again repeat, sir. Sure. So what I'm saying is, right now, I don't know the structure of this JSON object. But now I should be able to retrieve each and every value. So what your foreign looping control structure is doing is, I have a syntax. You need to say for. You need to create a temporary variable. It could be anything, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, P, Q, or anything you have. In is a predefined keyword, and you tell me what is the name of the JSON object. Okay, for what is the key, in what is the JSON object. Under this, now I'm going to retrieve the key like this. Now temp is one of the variable which will automatically go for JSON object. It will automatically go to one key value, one key value, one key value, one key. You go to each and every key value, and it is going to retrieve the data for us. Okay, and every time, first time, the key value is name colon Krish. I will get as name. Second time, I'll get the age. Now, when I'm getting the name, I'm even saying employee data of key. Obviously, I'm getting the value. Am I clear, Naresh? Kushal, you got disconnected. Sure, Kushal, you just message me. I'll pass the recordings. I think everybody is getting the recordings. When you're asking, I'm passing it, right? Everyone. I didn't miss it. Okay. I thought of saying something else. Yeah, deleting a value from the JSON object. Okay, this is how you are retrieving the data. You know, there are some predefined methods using which you could able to insert into the JSON, insert into the array, delete a value from the array. For now, I want to remove the location from your JSON object. How you're going to do? Okay, I say, okay, for now I'm commenting this guy. I want to say delete the value from the location. You know what some people will do is they say that emp.location is equal to empty. Now I say console.log emp data. Now if you save it and reload the page, you see this is how the JSON object is there. Location is empty, but still the key is existing. My expectation is I want to delete the key along with its value. It is not like assigning a value to empty. So how you're going to delete it? In order to delete a value from the JSON object, there is a predefined keyword, what we call it as delete keyword. Delete is one of the predefined keyword. You simply say emp data dot location. So delete a key called as location from the object called as employee data. It is going to delete that key along with its value. Now when I save it and reload the page, now do you have the key here with empty value and all? Nothing. Okay, so this is what we call it as delete keyword. This is again a good interview question. People will ask you, how do you insert new data? How do you delete an existing data from the JSON object? Okay, if at all you want to retrieve all the keys, you know, I can simply say, console dot log emp data dot keys dot has, there is something called get keys. There is a method to get the list of all the keys. Object dot keys, sorry. There should be something called, there is a predefined called object dot keys of emp data. So it is going to return you list of all the keys in the form of an array. If at all you have to get the list of all the keys from the JSON object, there is a predefined object called as object dot keys is a method. You tell me what is the JSON object, I will return you all the keys what it is holding. Okay. Next, can you give us some interview questions for JavaScript? Biswajit, if you go into our Git, right? I already added this interview questions. If you go into the others folder, go into the interview questions, I think almost 150 plus questions we have. Okay, so these all are interview questions, real-time interview questions, which are from your JavaScript, HTML, CSS, ECMA6, everything I have already added here. Okay, you can have a check on this. Sorry. Ask. Answers. You know that answers. Obviously, I have added the one which is from our topics what we have covered. But if any questions you feel like confusion, you let me know the question, I will answer it. If I go with all the 150, then it will be. Otherwise, if you really want, one Sunday or one Saturday, we can sit and we can check on this. Okay, you're saying this guy. So this is a statement. It is overall innumerable string properties of an object incorporating symbols. This guy is from your ECMA6. Okay, so it is simple. It is going to retrieve only the keys. I will answer this when I come to the ECMA6. Please do remind me at that time. Is that fine, Roshan? Yeah. Okay, so what is the next topic we have? No? Okay, JSON, complex JSON object we haven't seen, boss. This is the very simple JSON object what we have seen. The next topic is we need to talk about the complex JSON object. Sorry, timeout and time intervals, right? Yeah. So, but before that, let us talk about the complex JSON object. I'll do one thing. I will pause it for today. We'll meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll talk about the complex JSON object. You know, for example, if I ask you a single level of hierarchy, saying that name, age, gender of employee, you simply do this. For example, if I go with a complex data, when I go with something called as contact details. No, I say contact details, name, you can say. Age, I can say. For example, I say address. Under address, I may have something called as office address and permanent address. Under office address, you may say state code. Under state information, I may have what is the state code and what is the state information. So if you have complex type of data structure, hierarchical type of data structure, how you're going to store inside the JSON, that I'm going to talk tomorrow. Okay. Have a good day. Bye for today.